of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can start with the PJA running club.
Hi, how are you? Before we start, we would like to say thank you to the cafe for our shirts. We're very excited. What are we going to do with them? And we're just going to wear them. We're not going to do anything else with them. We don't have any plan. Do you have to come up to us and say, is this the day we're going to try them? Oh, so we got them in white, so we're very excited. So here are two of our runners. Gianna's in 4th grade and Juliana's in 3rd grade. And we have a little video that we did, which we'll show you parts of. It goes on for about 10 minutes. So we figured you can watch it on and find most of it. But before we do that, do you girls want to talk a little bit about how we start out at running club and how we finish up ready for the 5K?
They're very nervous.
So in the beginning, when we first started running club, we took it very slow and we
Walk.
walked a lot and jogged a little bit. And we started to like increase and towards now we run 30 miles Mondays and Thursdays.
And where we went, when we first started, where did we go?
We went
Down 2nd Street, made the left, went to Stewart's, came back, and now we go behind the firehouse, up the road, all the way down to, what's our favorite hill? Union Street, that's our morning run hill, right? Yeah, we take that either at a very slow jog or a walk. Go around what court? Constantine Court, back down Vernon, all the way to school, right? So we did the 5K trail. So we really worked up. And the girls also meet with Mrs. Stokey. I'm being sarcastic. You don't know, 3rd grade.
And I'm Kara Gopi, I'm the school counselor here at EJ.
So, and then they meet with Mrs. Stokey.
So when they meet with me, we do a lot of community building, we set goals for the week, a lot of positive thoughts about ourselves and our running girls, because it's really important to encourage others and talk positively to yourself when you're running, because it's really running to love for those of you who don't run. Running's a big mental game, and it's really easy to talk yourself out of a run. So we have to focus on talking positively to ourselves when we're running. So that we do a lot of that kind of work, play some games, we do art.
Yeah, and in the beginning of this, you'll see the bulletin board.
And this has all our members in it.
Oh. If you fast forward a little, there's a little bit, well, maybe another minute where Kara's talking about the, I guess in your file, you have a shared document that we would love for you to watch for 10 minutes, but I know the kids are hard to hear. We have a very soft voice third grade girl group this year. Not so much of a fourth grade. But so you might have to turn your volume. You guys want to tell them anything else about running? No? You're gonna do it again next year? What's going on? Maybe get started up on the other school. Anything else you want to share? No? No?
You guys have any questions?
I would just like to say that I'm really proud of you because it's hard to start running and it's a lot, it's a big head game. And the fact that you guys are putting yourself out there, putting in the hard work, and then being such a good role model for even people in the community watching you run, that's really impressive. You should be proud of yourselves.
And I will tell you, we have a boy in fourth grade who is on our route and he gets to the window
That's
and he does wave to us as we go by. So we do have some moms out there too.
That's
That
great.
way, yeah.
I also want to say it's a great habit to get into. You make some incredible friends and it's a great stress reliever. It's a wonderful, wonderful habit to get into. So keep at it, girls.
And good luck on race day.
Okay, so we would love to have you there.
Yeah, I have applications for the race. If anyone would like to sign up, I'll just.
Or
put them
even
there.
just cheer them on.
Yeah, or cheer.
I know Mr. Johnny, you often
Yes,
comes to our front.
but I know I walk.
It's
The race-
okay.
the race is
Walking
over.
is good too.
We have moms, I'll tell you, I'm not fast, and we have moms with strollers that need me,
Yeah.
so, you know. Okay, right?
Thank you,
You're raising
girls.
us ourselves.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of presentations. Food service.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Stefano, I'm the food service director for our school district. And This is my report for this year. I figured I would do it as far as statistics go. I know that people like to see numbers and know where we are and what we're doing. So, so far, give or take a few meals, we've served breakfast so far, 70,908 meals to date. That's an average of 864 meals a month. So we're serving 599 students daily as far as breakfast go. We do breakfast in the classroom and breakfast after the bell. Those are two very successful models that that are encouraged to make sure that we don't miss anybody, and encouraged also just to make sure that you know, some kids are too cool to come into the cafeteria and they just don't want to go right to the classroom or hang out in the hall with their friends or whatever it is. So we are very successful with hitting this. We hit everybody in the elementary schools. The kids come through the walker line and the bus line and they get a bag. So they're greeted in the morning by some of my staff and both elementary schools. And in the middle school, we just switched over to the middle school just very, very recently. They're coming through the line again. And the high school, we do go breakfast in the classroom. We deliver to the classrooms. So we have increased our breakfast participation. It's up from 31% last year to 60% this year. So that's really good. We want to kind of make sure everybody has a good start. As far as lunch goes, we served 91,713 lunches to date. That's an average of 11,467 meals a month. Average of 646 students are served daily, which is a lot. So within our district, 64% of the kids eat lunch every day. So it's really good participation. It's up from 43% last year. As far as sales go, we have a lot of a la carte sales. We have snack sales that we have resumed in all of our schools. That's up 32% from last year. Adult entrees have also increased. They're up 50%. We do a really nice hummus plate and really nice salad, and teachers have really jumped on the bandwagon. People are really liking them. So we've increased a lot there. Our vending sales have also increased 58%. We sell drinks in our vending machines, just in case anybody was curious what we sell. The two vending machines that are out in front of middle school, those are not schools. That's an outside company that we work with. And those are only on after we're done with our lunch program, so it doesn't compete with our program at all. We've made a lot of improvements over the past year. We've got new ranges in CE and EJA and high school. We've got new combi ovens, which are state-of-the-art in CE, middle school, and high school. The only reason EJA didn't have it is because we had some infrastructure challenges and we were not able to do it here. We've got new food holding warmers in every single kitchen. We've got new microwaves in the middle and high schools. We'll be installing new service lines at CE and EJA over the summer, and a new kettle in the middle school over the summer as well. This is what the fancy, shiny new stuff looks like. That's our new stoves, our new ranges, our new warmers and microwaves. And I think that's it. Those are that's my presentation. Anyone have questions? Yes.
And you wrote a grant, is that right?
I got a grant for the ovens. Yes. That was in the previous picture. Can I go back? The back button. The one on the right, the ones on the right. We got a grant for those. We have a surplus in our department, so I was able to make some really necessary upgrades with a lot of the equipment. So now, instead of things that just sitting there that are just holding towels or others, we can actually use the stuff that we have in our kitchens. We renewed our CP application. So we're working on that to hopefully get another 4 years of free breakfast and lunch for everyone in our district through their 18th birthday.
Do they do audits there?
Do they do audits?
Do they-
No, I have to actually actually reapply every 4 years. So I just give them the statistical information just based on our current time. Anyone else?
I have a question. Have we ever sent out a survey to like students to see like their favorite meals, their least favorite for like breakfast and lunch, or?
Have I sent out
Yeah,
a
like
survey?
to
I have
see-
sent out surveys and I can tell you that I don't get a lot
You don't
of
get-
response ever.
Okay.
I
I
try.
just, yeah, I just
I
didn't
do,
know.
I do. But yes, I do.
That's cool. That's for the ones that do respond. That's always.
Yep, it's nice. In fact, Mrs. Miller has a great little thing where her students put in like suggestions or questions or whatever, and I got a question the other day. So I'm gonna be a guest person with their announcements on Thursday to be able to answer some of the kids' questions about food, so they can ask me directly.
That's cool.
That's it. That's kind of neat. I'm a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
No, you'll do fine.
All right, anybody else? Yes.
Mary, as this board considers another building project a few years down the road, we'll gather the facts and figures and information. Can you think of anything right now as far as your infrastructure in your kitchen or dining halls that you could, that could be part of a building project?
I would really like to focus on the high school's kitchen and service lines. All of the equipment that we're buying is modular, movable. And where we're placing things now too is I'm planning ahead. So things that are, for instance, like the plumbing for some of the like commie ovens, that is rather specific. But I wouldn't move that. I could move some other things around it, but and I would also say there are a lot of really neat designs as far as cafeteria, like the dining area, like on the other side of the kitchen wall that exists now that are far from institutional. Like, and I would really like to focus on that to make it more of a I don't know, a warmer feel as opposed to an institutional feel.
Sounds good. For your ideas in the future.
I would love to be part of that. Thank you. Anybody else? All right. Thank you so
for
much,
all you've
everybody.
done, Mary.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I enjoy it.
Nugent.
How are you? All right, so the state of transportation, as it says in my notes that went along with you folks at home, we're in a good place with transportation right now. We've got good partners with our two vendors, First Student Coxsackie Transport. They take care of our kids, they provide good services to our kids and our district. So we've made a lot of things happen with them. As you might know, we're in our second year of our 5-year RFP with First Student, who's our main contractor for all of our main routes. So this is just a quick breakdown of what we have right now as far as routes. We have 18 regular routes. That's 16 big buses and 2 small buses. We have a wheelchair bus and we have a small bus that does a combination of special education children and regular ed children. Most of our buses are all combined, least restrictive environment. All of our kids are together. So we provide those services. We have 2 morning buses that start out about 5:40 in the morning and go out and pick up Tech Valley kids and the New Vision program kids. And they bring them into the school here and then they catch a shuttle that we have a cooperative agreement with Carol Durham. Carol Durham takes their kids, our kids, and Greenville's kids and Catskill's kids up, and then they bring them back to us in the afternoon. So that's how the morning starts. We have the Questar shuttles that take our kids back and forth to Questar. We also have a bus that takes our kids out to the heavy equipment program out in Durham. We have a Grayville shuttle. Grayville is the only school that's a non-public within our attendance boundary, our 15-mile radius. At the moment, there's one that opened up in Catskill, the Catskill Montessori. At this moment, we don't have anybody going there. So right now we have run that goes back and forth to Grayville, and then we have the Athens bus in the afternoon. Then of course, all the athletic trips and field trips and stuff like that we do throughout the day with First Student. Coxsackie Transport does most of our small bus operation for 1 kid, 2 kids that have to go to different programs out of district. and they take our kids and do that for us. We also have a McKinney-Vento run they do for us as well in the afternoon. We did a combined contract with that. And we have some open contracts with them that we can use when we have somebody that becomes displaced or something comes up. So we have flexibility without having to hopefully go out and try to bid contracts in this environment. So as you probably know, a couple weeks ago, and we went through here the last couple of years with the pandemic. So 2021, we really fared pretty well. Minor impacts with our routes. We had pretty good coverage. It had a moderate impact on sports. We couldn't always get all the sports out at 2:30, 2:45 when they like to leave. So they left later, games were a little bit later, but we got most of them done and got them there for their programs. 21-22 saw a little bit more of a moderate impact on our routes. We did a lot of coverage, a lot of maneuvering things around. The management was driving, the mechanics were driving, our safety people were driving. So some of the things that we have there, we had to cover. So we started seeing that impact. And then March and April of this year, we hit some pretty good roadblocks. We had half of our drivers that were out for about a 5-day period. So we had a couple of days that we had to really squash things and try to combine things. And without the families and without the cooperation of those that were here helping us, the drivers that were here, drivers that we brought in from other areas, Coxsackie Transport, Catskill Terminal, we made it work. You know, we put messages out to the families so that we let them know what was going on, that we were gonna have problems. You know, we combined the routes. We had to cancel office hours those 2 days. We did cancel sports and different things, but we got our kids to school and from school pretty much on time, maybe about 15 minutes, 20 minutes off on a couple of routes. But we got our kids to school so they could learn it, and we got them home in the afternoon safe. So, and as it says there, we couldn't have did it without the drivers, the first student at Coxsackie Transport that worked with us and did it and really learned routes, did routes they've never been on before, roads they probably never been on before. And we did it with drivers from Wallkill, some from Kingston. We brought a Catskill bus up, covered our Questar bus, Coxsackie Transport did our Grayville bus. So there's a lot of maneuvering that went into it, but we made it happen. And kudos to our drivers and our partners. So I mentioned the RFP. And we did that 2 years ago. When we went into the RFP, some that have been on the board for a while know that we had equipment over time that was very good way to put it. So when we wrote the RFP, when First Student would not renew their contract, we wrote the RFP, and when we crafted that, we crafted a lot of these safety features that you now see that we have on our buses. So safety is a culture. It starts with the training, but it also has to have the tools to do the job. And we never jeopardized that safety during that pandemic when we had our shortages. But our fleet does play a big part in safety and how it helps the driver and how it helps and keeps our kids safe on the buses. So all of our buses now have collision avoidance. They have anti-sway that prevents them from rolling over. It's got, every one of them have 3-point seatbelts. So we always had lap belts for years. Now every one of them has 3-point seatbelts, and it puts us in a position now, so when the state starts mandating, which is coming, when they mandate 3-point seatbelts, we're already ahead of the curve. And districts that have had it, there's not a lot in the state, districts that haven't reported reduced discipline issues as well. So right now it's still optional. We're teaching the kids, part of our training, we teach them how to use them. But maybe at some point that's something we look at instituting with our board. All of our buses now have the first light stop signs on them, and they're the destination signs, which you can see in the picture. And I'm going to see if this video will play for you so you can see the difference. You can see the still picture, but I want to see if we get that to play for you. The iridescent, they light up the inside and the outside. So at nighttime, that bus comes from a half mile or more away. So when you're approaching it with the LEDs and the strobe LEDs on the stoplights and the stop signs, our buses are more visible. They also have a white strobe light on them for inclement weather, like we had rain today. It just gives more visibility for that bus to be seen, stopping at a child's house to prevent a passing motorist or any child getting struck. The control arms, that's something we've always had. That's a crossing arm that comes out. What that does help the children so that they stay out away from the bus, so the driver can see them, they can see the driver and safely cross. So those have been on, and we have those on here as well. The child checkmate and theft mate, that's a tool to help the driver make sure they check their bus at the end of each run. They physically have to go to the back of that bus, and they're checking their seats. As they go back, they have to hit the button, which deactivates the system, otherwise the horns start blowing, the lights start blowing, and then everybody's alerted that they didn't get done and needs to be checked. So that's one of the safety things there as well. All of our buses have GPS tracking. That's that kind of hard to see on the screen there. But that other screen there is the GPS tracking. So we can see where the bus was. It'll tell me when the door opened, when the door closed, how long it was at a stop, and all that information is available to us. So when somebody calls and says they didn't see the bus or was the bus there, I can go to the report and look at it. It'll tell me when time the bus was there and how long it was there for. All of our buses now have automatic snow change, which helps us. We get out into the hills of our district. So they're called spot chains. They drop down, they spin in front of the tires, so you're permanently mounted. You don't have to worry about putting them on there in the future. Some of the convenience features that we tried to put on the buses, think about the programs that we have in our district. So 7 of our big buses now have air conditioning for our summer school students. Along with the air conditioning, they have luggage compartments on them. We also have 6 buses that are, I says 5, but it's actually 6, that have extra luggage compartments. There's 3 on one side and 5 on the other. It's 5. So the sports trips, stuff like that, they go away for games, all those duffel bags, stuff like that can go underneath. Or big field trips where they take their lunches and stuff with them. They don't go underneath. Gone are the days where they sit on seats, become projectile objects in case of an accident. So we thought about that as well. They all have tinted windows, helps the temperature inside the bus for our kids, keeps it comfortable. They're all Wi-Fi capable. We don't have Wi-Fi in them, but they were ordered when they did this, that they can be hooked up with Wi-Fi by one of our vendors if we so choose down the road. They have the route changer signs so the kids can easily identify what bus they're on. The drivers change those, to, especially with the pandemic, it really helped us. We used to have pieces of paper in the window. With the tinted windows, that's a little harder these days. So, and we also, when I wrote this, I also asked, because of our climate and our winter weather, I actually put secondary midship heaters in, so that the temperature comes up faster and the kids have a more comfortable bus ride when they come in.
So are these things you asked for?
Yes. Yep. So when we crafted this whole RFP, knowing what was out there, so that we wouldn't just get a plain nothing bus with no safety features and stuff like that. So these were things that we asked for when we looked at it and we wrote the RFP, that the vendors that bid on it would have had any vendor, not just First Student, would have had to provide these safety features for our district. So
Did you? These your ideas then, or?
most of them,
Yes,
yeah, most of them.
very good.
So
Thank you.
I'm old. I've been doing this for a little while, so.
No, you're good.
I've seen where we were with the old full bench back seats on the Max to where we are today. So
Well, that's great. that you can-
communications obviously is another key. All our buses are equipped with 2-way radios. They're all digital radios. So they're not like a regular CB. They're all digital. So they're not picked up on scanners and stuff like that. You have to buy like a $500 or more scanner if you want to try to pick them up. So it keeps communications a little bit more secure for our kids when we talk about different things. There's base radios, as I think hopefully most of you know. Every elementary building has one. The middle school has one. High school has one. I've got one in my office. I got one in my house. There's a radio in my truck. There's a radio on my hip and my phone. So technology is always there. You see the picture of the ocean there. That's why that's there. It was actually on vacation out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And I was able to talk back here to the school, to the buses. So it works everywhere. So always in communication,
That's
there's a
not
problem.
vacation.
So that's unfortunately, that's how I grew up. So transportation never sleeps. So what's the future hold for us? So I don't think any of us saw this coming, but we're talking about it and we're learning about it right now. The future, and as you all know, listening to the governor's proposals and what's going on in the state, is going to be EV or hydrogen buses, right? Zero emission is where they're going with that. July 1, 27 right now in the governor's proposal, if it passes through, is when schools have to start buying EVs. You can no longer buy any other fuel vehicles. So they have to be zero emission buses. And by 2035, all school buses in the state have to be either electric vehicles or zero emission hydrogen type buses. There's no other technology out there yet except for those two. Hydrogen has only been tested in transit, has not been tested in school buses yet. So there's a lot of different things to go along with that we're looking at and working with to try to figure out where we're going to go. First Student, who's currently our main contractor, is already proactive, and they're starting to do things in some of their bigger terminals to try to see what it's all about. To give you a quick example, and it's there, cost of a diesel school bus is around 125 or 150, depending on what you put in it. The EV is around 300,000. That's just the bus alone. That's not the infrastructure. We've estimated in the meetings we've been having through the association that I'm president of, is we figure $4 to $5 billion is an estimate for New York State to put in the infrastructure to actually charge these vehicles. The battery life on these vehicles is only 7 to 8 years. So, and they're looking at 12-year leases, what the state put in to their plan. So, as I said, I'm honored, and I always, when I go to these meetings, I represent Coxsackie-Athens. I'm honored to be the president of the state association for school children and school buses. This is actually my first year coming up now as the actual president. I've been the president, but I was filling up somebody's term, so I actually be the longest serving president at this point, because it's the way things happen, not by choosing. So honored to do that, learning and bringing education to all of our colleagues across the state and learning about EVs and so forth. So my theme for our conference coming up this July is it's all about the bus strategies for success. And we're focusing a lot of things on EV and so forth, and things that can help new directors and veteran directors learn all about these different things coming up. So questions?
Ted, any comments you can tell us about where you can predict what the cost for these EV buses would be to a district like CA?
The bus itself costs $300,000. So it's all going to depend on the vendors. Every manufacturer currently has an EV. There's a couple that are kind of leading the way. There's a couple that are trying to portray a complete package. But for us being a contracted district, that's really not applicable for us. So we're going to, once again, once this comes along, a lot of these same safety features that we have now would go into that EV, and it would just be a different drivetrain. So they look exactly the same. We had a couple on the floor at last summer's show. They're quiet. I mean, it's scary how quiet they are when they drive it.
Electric cost versus fuels cost now. And
we're still trying to look at all that stuff. We don't have a choice, unfortunately. I think we're not going to have a choice. So we're on board. We're trying to make sure that we kind of try to steer the state to be the best it can to get this out for districts.
Is the state proposing any special funding in any sort of way?
They're looking at different grants. There's some grants out there right now, but nothing that's going to cover the overall infrastructure. One of the things we just learned, so Bethlehem has a few. Bethlehem, I think, has 3 EVs right now, and they're getting 3 more. And they own their own buses. They're not contracted. They built that into their bus cycle when they replace buses, and they wanted EV. The district wanted EV, the board wanted EV. So they spent that money this year and bought the 3. And then they started putting the infrastructure on their own, which is all the different, like you see when you go to all the rest stops and stuff now have those charging stations. So every bus has to have its own charging station. And then you have to have all the infrastructure to support those charging stations. And that's what's not funded right now. There's some money for the EVs right now, but not for the infrastructure. And that's one of the things that our association is trying to make the governor's office aware of, that there's got to be some kind of federal or state funding to pay for some of this cost, because districts aren't going to be able to do it. Whether you own it or a contract, you're going to pay.
Do you foresee us having a charging station at CA? Or
I would think it would be at whichever terminal the company has, whatever we're contracted with at that point. Right now, our contract expires in 25, 26. So we're in year 2 of 5. So this is just right before that, where our contract's gonna expire. So whoever our new bidder is, whether if first student agrees to roll, and then those costs they'll have to figure out, depending on what CPI is gonna be. Or we might have to go out completely out again for another RFP. And the basics of the RFP are gonna stay the same. What's gonna happen is the cost to the operator to put in EV is what's gonna jack the contracts.
Did you mention the range for an EV bus? Have you mentioned that?
There's a lot of testing still going on. I know there's been a big thing on cars as far as what they can do, what they can't do. A lot of stuff with the EV buses right now, long distance, you got, depends on the temperatures. Because you got heat, all your heaters and all that stuff work off your batteries. So they're running down the island, they're getting a full day out of it, they come back and they plug them back in, they charge. So there's no specific time that we have yet as far as how long they'll last.
I'm
That's
just
all
thinking,
still
I'm
in
just thinking on
testing.
extended field trips.
Well, I know that when they took one of the demo buses from one of the local distributors down to the island for a preview, that stopped twice the train. So,
Besides bus charging terminals, is there any kind of plan? I know 2035 is a way out for all our other vehicles, but is there any kind of plan just in terms of like employees or student EVs, any kind of charging stations?
I have not read that part of it, honestly. I've only been focusing on the school bus side of it. I would imagine, I mean, it's, I don't know if you've seen it, it's a big packet. And it's not only school buses, it's your houses and everything. It's, oh, you know, what you do, right? So it's electric everything. They want natural gas, all your natural gas, propane, all that stuff, fossil fuels are going. Everything's gonna be electric. That's what's all in this big plan that they're proposing.
How long does it take to charge a bus?
The bus, I believe, is about an hour and a half to get you enough to go back again. They say the car, they get some of the quick car, it just depends on the car. It's around 20 minutes from what I understand.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because buses are kind of good.
There's a lot more battery.
Depends on what charger too.
Right, what charge station, what it is, what the infrastructure is. How many volts and stuff they have to put in.
Anything with referrals, Ted? I mean, we talked about that in the past, but any,
Yeah, we have not seen a big change. I mean, we probably don't deal with that many of them, maybe one or two a week. You know, we saw the one screen there earlier had all the different cameras, which you've seen before. We use that and we get that when the administration needs that. So that part of it is working out. We have not seen too many issues. I mean, kids are fidgety. I mean, and honestly, that's where I think the 3-point seatbelt issue will come into play. It's proven by districts that have them that put that policy in, that all kids on school buses wear the seatbelts. Discipline referrals have gone down, nothing. Because kids are doing what they normally do in the car. They get in the car, they buckle up.
so when would we do that?
That's going to be completely up to the board and how we want to look at that in the future. I mean, we're there, everything is there to do it. If the board ever wanted to look at that kind of policy. I could bring you sample policies, and I'm sure through the Superintendent Association as well, there's sample policies out there.
I'm not sure why we wouldn't. Seems like a good idea.
I mean, you still have the safety of the seats. The seats are still the same as they've always been. They're high, they're padded, they give you that compartmentalization area for the child. That 3-point seatbelt just adds another layer of safety.
So you could bring us something on that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Randy's got stuff as well.
And I know we appreciate that you and the drivers and everybody that got us through a couple weeks ago. I think all the kids coming to school. And I know there's been districts that have shut down locally. And that's happened to them. So congratulations and thank you.
It was a team effort. As it said in those slides, it was we, it wasn't I. It was a team effort to get it done. And we were able to do that. I get texts every day during the pandemic of how many routes aren't run in different schools.
Well, terrific job.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
exit interviews? Do you have anything on that? I know we wanted to discuss that a little bit. Randy included the questions that are asked in our packet. Questions about this? Or?
I guess I do. I know we've been asking about exit interviews and conducting them. And maybe my memory's off, but I thought we were told that we don't do them. That we do them.
Yeah, actually, I was surprised by that, only because I thought we didn't do them and we were asking to do them. That's all.
Would it make any sense if the board wanted more participation in the exit interviews, is to have the liaison committee somehow be more involved in maybe looking at the reports that come back?
Or
Or
board
to be,
member.
or to be involved
Yeah.
a little bit more, I don't know. Is there a need for that, or think there's a need for that?
Well, as a board member myself, I would love to see why people are leaving. Because maybe we can improve on what we're doing, or maybe it is just because they're moving closer to home, or retirement,
But it gives
obviously.
you peace of mind.
Right.
So do we currently, have we done it?
Not, well, COVID kind of messed things up a little bit. I mean, we've done them a little bit, last probably 2 years.
So like pre-COVID, you're saying we did them?
I guess we
This liaison committee, do you think that we can take on this task? I think that we can. I can't remember besides the two of us who else is on the committee. Okay.
which committee?
Liaison committee.
This is 3,
No.
4.
I mean, even if we come up with different questions.
I guess you'd want to look at where, if and where there are problems, if there are problems, and where they could be, or what is there, what are we wanting to gather, and how do we gather it, and what I think is the role the board might have in that. It might be, I would not recommend being part of an exit interview, but it might be looking at what questions are asked, or what, how they're done, or who does them.
Or just thought we just do it electronically. We send it to them.
Okay.
We're not sitting down with them.
Okay.
But even just looking at, like, if we have, I don't know how many people have already say they're leaving or whatever, just asking them those questions and then now sitting down for one meeting and looking at all the responses and kind of seeing if there's a common denominator or,
Patterns.
yeah.
I think those are the concerns. If we're seeing people leave a particular department frequently and what we could do better. So developing a better set of questions through the liaison committee. Do we think that's a solution?
I think so.
I think it is.
You might want to outline what you want to do. And if there's, I don't know if there's a policy on it. Or not.
Or just
a
brainstorm.
protocol. Yeah. And
Just start with a
and what does it
brainstorm.
look like? 'Cause
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like we're doing it now. So, but how do you do it randomly? Does everybody have an exit interview? And then is there a way to make it as like as neutral as possible?
And
That-
transparent.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
Yeah.
But maybe they could look at.
Maybe reach out to some other schools that do that. See how
come back
they
with some
handle it.
suggestions.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Clear?
All right, yep, I wrote down
We're,
mine. Thanks for the marching orders.
Charge.
Let's get.
Still well, it's-
Okay, we we have committee reports, innovation, Mr. Wallace.
Yeah, the Innovation Committee met tonight, and on the committee are Michael, David, Maureen, and myself. Also in attendance was our facilitator of the task force, which is meeting May 2nd again, which Brandon Lyons and administration was represented at the meeting. This will be our 4th meeting over several months. We've had 30 stakeholders from the public attend those meetings. They've come up with numerous suggestions and content and material for the Innovation Committee to look at. So we're going to be focused on the over 200 ideas that they've come up with this Monday. We're going to narrow them down and focus on 4 or 5 themes this Monday night. And we're going to take that information back to the Innovation Committee and talk some more. And hopefully that information will come to the board, possibly in a form of a retreat to look at any declining enrollment that may occur in our elementary schools in the future, and also our resource allocation of services. That's my report.
Thanks, Boyd. Negotiations, I know we've met a couple of times, and I think we want to try to meet again before, well, sometime this week, if we can. In terms of various stages, and any comments about that, various stages of
Oh, like I said,
development.
teachers, we have teachers, set and administrative. Tonight we'll be moving the agreement for the food service.
Right.
Can we add a committee to that section, Mike?
What's that?
Can we add a committee update to that section? Before
Oh,
we go
yes,
to the
yes,
next
yes,
part?
yes.
Oh, you did, you added
It's
it?
here.
We wrote it in.
Yes.
Written in
I was just making sure.
for the Board of Ed orientation.
Yeah. Are you the chair of that? Or do we have a chair? Okay, I don't mind talking. May 12th, at 6 o'clock, we were looking to host a question and answer for the new board members that are going to be running for the board seats that are open. We are hoping that all of them that are running are willing to come, and it's Dave, Ina, and myself. And we just want them to come with their questions that they have, what it is to be on the board, what it is that we do. I know I've been asked questions like how long are our meetings, and all of those questions, and just be able to be open and honest with all of our 3, experiences that we've had, and give them answers and kind of try to help them see what it is that they really are running for on May 17th. So I know Mr. Squire sent an email invite so that they know that they are all invited to come and join us.
Did you say where?
High school library.
High school library.
Thank you, Tara.
Yep.
New chairman. Okay, superintendent updates.
I just give the board, everybody an update. So Coxsackie-Athens will be hosting the American Association of School Administrators, Superintendent Association, their Transformative Leadership Consortium. Will be here October 2nd, in the region, October 2nd through the 4th. We're the host school district. So we're in the planning stages right now of what those really 2.5 days will look like. They will be spending time in our schools and seeing all the wonderful things our teachers and staff are doing each day. So part of one of the days, probably also planning, they'll tour one of our CTE centers. Both CC, Tech Valley High School is another option. Also, we have the OC Center up at Hudson Valley Community College is another place we may have them look, as well as tying it all in. We have it with HVCC, the Haas Manufacturing Center. See if they want to go down to Common, just kind of see the connections, some of the programs we have, how it connects, to the workforce, as well as the nanoscale college, Tech Valley High School. Right there. So proud of that. We'll be hosting this. Everybody, once we get the agenda really set, we'll all have that, certainly invited to participate.
Any questions?
Land acknowledgement, just wanted to just provide kind of an update on that. Originally, when about a year ago, I guess, or a little less than a year ago, one of the things we talked about was retiring Indian mascot, the River Hawks, was to do some type of land acknowledgement as part of the process, included along with curriculum and such with that. So the original idea was to have students working on this a little bit, but you heard Mr. Hughes, it was, his class got a kind of a late start. You only have 3 kids and they're busy doing other history things in a good way. So I just wanted to share with the board, kind of not a timeline, but just, the kind of the 3 steps that you want to look at. Certainly the first step is to identify, make sure that we do any type of land acknowledgement that we acknowledge the correct tribes and original inhabitants to this territory, this place we live. Just make sure we're set with that, and then come up with a statement, a land acknowledgement. I just provided a sample. What's that? It's a sample. For that regard. So that would be something we then want to fine tune and agree to. This is what we want to accomplish with our acknowledgement, and then determine how we want it to be presented, delivered. A couple options with that. We want the resources on one sheet. We done it like events, prior to events. Went to James's graduation last year. They did one before college graduation. Here's productive. They're talking about it a little bit here. So they did one there because I was in Syracuse. So that was a different people that are talking about there. But also signage is certainly another option as well. I know we talked about that as having some type of permanent signage with land acknowledgement on campus and something. So kind of where we're at. I don't know. Kind of my recommendation is you just put more stuff on the board members' plates, but we want to do it this unit here, or an other idea of how to work through this process. We can get it started. I think if you look at some of the resources and some of the guidance, they're also clear. Keep it simple at first. And as far as what you're trying to accomplish, and something that you can consistently do. So it's not a one and done.
I know that the lady that we had reached out to through the liaison committee, she had people who were in this area, more Boston, but still, that's not too far, that have worked on land acknowledgements, and she said they would be willing to try to help guide us through that process as well. So I think that might be a good resource, because I know there are a lot of questions and we want to make sure that we have the right information. That might be right. Didn't they hold like a
They had a workshop.
Yeah.
A workshop there. Yeah, we talked about that.
So how does that process go? I mean, would we work with the committee? Or how do you see that proceeding?
Right, is most efficient.
I'm sorry.
Yes, like the liaison committee should continue with this process. My reply was it might be most efficiently.
no,
I
but I
don't want to think on your plate.
no, but I think it's been a very long process for the liaison committee, and I don't want to just say that, wash my hands of it. I want.
We need to complete.
Right, like I said, originally,
I want
we
to
had
be
the
a part
concept
of-
of trying to
yeah.
get kids involved with this in some,
Yeah.
I think that we still can't bring them in to this. I think, there's some interest in student body.
I just know, I know myself, we want to make sure, and pretty sure Jamie and Maureen are on the same page. We want to make sure that it does get, completed, because that was one of our big tasks, was making sure that the educational part was also a part of this entire thing, and the land acknowledgement was one of those that we were all, I thought, passionate about, right?
And on the education side, like Greg, he talked about how he's integrated into his local history class. And Carrie, we're gonna come back in June. One of our topics at the June meeting presentation is just making sure no one's marginalized. That's a broad topic, and this is one of the subtopics. How are we gonna make sure this is integrated into our K-12 curriculum as well.
So is the objective of the liaison committee just kind of making a plan for how we want to implement this? Like, okay, we'll try to get this curriculum involved, or this, put it here, or like, what's our objective?
I think more specifically to determine really the content of the land acknowledgement. Think of it almost as a statement. Short paragraph, or if you will, statement.
Yeah, I think when we had talked to Heather, it was like, what, 2 to 3 sentences on there or something, typically? They have
Again, it could be all-
they have really long ones,
Right.
like you have to stand and read them, but I think having this, we had talked about like the signage to add to the land acknowledgement, not just the land acknowledgement, but
Okay, so a statement.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Maybe process of how to introduce this. What is this?
Introduce it and share it.
Yes.
Again, like
About
as
students.
like, for example, they may want to do it at every opening staff, every year staff, or we want to do it at graduation. Where do you want this to happen? Where do you want it to be seen? Where it's appropriate, you want everywhere.
Reach out to.
Yep.
Good. Capital project.
So Ryan and Mike, myself, we met with Melissa Scott from CS Arch. And I shared board, that's like the laundry list of items for the next, for whatever the next capital project occurs. It's everything. It's everything that's from the building condition survey, which has to be done. That's a state requirement. Ours has to
Excuse me? I'm not sure how exactly to raise a question about the topic being discussed. I raised my hand, but no one called on me, so I'm just calling out in class. If that's all right.
You have a question about the capital planning?
About the land acknowledgement that we were just on.
Well,
We have public.
we'll have a public input section very soon, and we'll ask you to comment then, if you'd like.
So again, that's just a list of the items, the building condition survey, when architects, engineers come through, what are their needs or things that are falling, need to be replaced, repaired, renovated, et cetera. I also included any items that just came up through conversations. It's really the last project was even being finished. So a lot of stuff's on there. It's just the list at this point. They start to put some numbers to it just to give, some ballpark ideas for there. So the next step of the process really is we'll determine when would we do our next capital project. So then you plan it backwards. When. So what we're looking at right now is debt service, current debt service. When does that roll off? So you kind of have an even financing as you go through it in that regard. I mentioned there's potential, though today I talked about this more executive session, just things about some of the pilots and stuff that are happening locally, where the IDA's positions on that for that. So that has to kind of be determined as when we feel comfortable having the next project happen, and then they work backwards. Okay, we need X number of months to do the scope, we need X number of months to plan it out, prepare for public vote, etc. So that's what we're trying to work through right now. There's no sense in let's do all this planning now and not actually go out to a public vote for like 2 or 3 years. Things change in 2 or 3 years in that regard. So we're just trying to get a gauge on when that might happen. But we do want to get the facilities committee together either in May or June to talk how this all will work, get input on that regard, and also updates on all the other things that are still going on as far as 2019 project, which was the tennis courts originally, backup generators, now involved transformers and some other work is being done. So I want to give you an update on that as well. So that's the next big project. It's kind of been a holding matter right now. So we decide when you want to do the next project. You want to do a project that has no tax impact, you can do a project that has some impact, that'll play into when. And of course, just, we've all experienced supply chain issues with that anyway, so that's potential impact as well. So the plan is that the facilities committee together sometime in May or early June. CSR should be there as well. We'll walk you through all the potential options and everything in that regard. And make a decision. You're looking at here next year, 2 years, 3 years out, kind of thing for a public vote in that regard. In regards to the current project, and Ryan can chime in here, as you know, a bunch of the parking lot lights, the Coxsackie campus, have been power surged or ground out. And so we didn't want to replace any more of them until this part of the project is going to get completed, which includes the power surge, well, not the power surge protections into our electrical system on that campus. For that, the plan now is for those to be turned over, if you will, July 4th weekend. At this point, if that were to occur, what we asked the board is it's a change order within this current project to then have current electrical contractors who are here then replace out all those lights that aren't working. 103,000 would be the cost for that to do that work.
How much under budget are we right now?
For the capital project, we've got, Scott Wolf got to us, he said we have $212,579, $212,579 for, that includes our incidentals and our construction monies.
Any of the lights going out like that because the surge protectors are like that, has anything covered by?
We've already replaced them. So I don't have a number, but we already, I know, we had the company already replaced a lot of them for free.
Yeah,
But they're saying that pretty much wore out that well. So to speak.
But you need to put in surge protectors. Is that?
Well, we don't want to put new lights up there until that is done. That was part of this project. So that's supposed to be done, at the end of June, July. At this point, we don't want to put new lights that see popping in.
And when you say new lights, you mean just the internal mechanisms, or are you talking about the whole?
Just the top piece, right? So they'll match the ones that are on the path.
And the ones on the path have this surge protection built in already?
To my knowledge, the problem right now is the source of electric. I'm not an electrical engineer. I don't understand most of this, but from what I have understood is the power source to lights in the CE parking lot, middle school parking lot, the rear middle school parking lot, the front of the high school, basically everywhere it's dark after board meetings. That power source is not getting the power to the lights properly in the sense that they've been burned out in one way or another. And the reason that the path lights are working is because they're currently operating off of some power source in CE that is working properly. And so rather than replacing the lights in those many parking lots that I just talked about now and having it flow again, we've wanted to wait for the surge protectors to get installed properly so that when we put them up, they're not going to blow in a week and then, or just slowly go. That'll just be a waste of money.
And we know it's not the goal itself because we have them down here as well.
Yeah.
Right,
Same question down here, no
right,
issues down here.
Never had to
And again, to my knowledge, they've investigated this, people that know way more about this than I do, and they've basically said it's a surge protector issue.
On that campus, just getting the picture. We have basically power going into Coxsackie Elementary and power going into the high school, middle school. And the parking lots are high school, middle school. The paths, Coxsackie Elementary, so that's like. So it's just.
Just one thing to add on that, if the board does decide to approve of this, in the popular budget, at the very, very end, in the interfund transfer section, in the descriptor, I'm sorry, it does talk about the capital outlay project for 22-23, which we had originally planned on doing this. If the board does elect to push forward this as a change order in the existing 2019 project, I would create an addendum. I would mail that to the 2 libraries that have already received copies of this, all the offices, and then post it. Just that page would have to be changed. So just as that would be changed. It would be an addendum to what you guys were just given as a result of that change.
So layman's terms, so I understand,
Yeah.
take $100,000 off the budget that we will be voting on.
No,
This would
we-
put for a change order that we've already voted on for a capital project.
We would be moving that into a capital project that's already been voted on with your approval, and we would probably most likely look to use that capital outlay project on something else.
Okay, there's the capital outlays. Okay.
Right, because the capital outlay allows us, the threshold is $100,000 project. And with that, we would utilize that money, no longer on lights, because that's now in change order. We'd use it on something else.
Okay,
What
like
that's,
last year we did the elevator.
exactly.
Correct.
Yep, exactly.
The facilities committee would make that.
Yes.
Thank you. That's fine. Here.
We're doing that, have them fixed quicker. What you suggested.
I mean,
Becoming change order, yes, and less expensive, because we did it as a
Yes.
capital outlay, you have to take it out. There's all the extra costs they pile in, but for here, it's just for here.
as far as the timeline go, keeping in mind, we have to wait for the surge protector to get here, supply line issue, Randy pointed that out already, then get it installed, then get all these lights here. So it's not like, cool, if you guys approve it tonight, we can move forward and get these lights installed tomorrow. We have to get that surge protector in, installed, make sure it's working, and then we can look to do this. It's just really, what pot of money are we pulling it from? Is the only concern.
But if we were to vote on it sooner, then at least you could,
Jumpstart.
instead of having to wait until May 17th
Absolutely,
to then start the process. Is that right?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yep, that would jumpstart the process.
Do we have that in here somewhere to
I know.
change order so that we can get this?
It's not in there, the way I understood it, Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys would just have to basically approve us not to exceed X amount of dollars. I personally would propose 105,000. It is 103, but that's my number. But that's more. That's how I understood the conversation.
So somebody want to make a resolution, approve the change order not to exceed 105,000
For purpose of.
replacing parking lot lights.
So you want to make that motion?
Make it. I'll make a motion to do a change order for the replacement of the parking lot lights not to exceed 105,000.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? So carried.
That looks so beautiful now.
Yeah.
Can't hold that.
That's your lights for it.
This last, just reminder, budget hearings are actually next week, May 3rd and May 5th, 6 o'clock, May 3rd, Coxsackie Elementary, May 5th here. Provide an overview of the 22-23 budget proposal for anybody who's here. There's also both those nights, 5:30, 6:30, will anybody who needs to register to vote can also come and do that as well. We'll be getting our students as well registered during the school day. Just a reminder that the budget vote and elections are Tuesday, May 17th, as they are across the state, from 1 to 9 p.m. Polls are at both elementary schools.
Okay. Leadership team information. Dr. Murray.
So just as an update, I don't know if everybody's heard, but our Regents exams this year, we did get an optional dispensation last year. We did not get that for this year. So Regents exams are required from students taking a Regents class. So the one new piece to Regents is this year, it's going to be the first time that they give the new US history Regents. So that'll come a little bit early every time they give a new framework exam. They do that the first week of June, so we'll have that randomly sitting in the middle of the first week of June, but then the rest of the Regencies will be in the regular Regents week, which starts June 15th. So I'm sure a lot of students were quite disappointed. They thought that maybe they would get another optional year. We were kind of hoping for another optional year, but that didn't happen. Turning to the other state testing that we're doing. So we finished our ELA state testing. Everything went well, and a big thank you to our tech department because we do computer-based, and obviously our principals for making everything run smoothly. We did send a complaint along with a lot of other people to the state education department that it was too long. Specifically the second day, a lot of our students were spending the vast majority of the day trying to complete the exam. So they did respond back to us that they heard the complaint and that they were working to try and fix it. The math assessments are this week at the elementary schools and next week at the middle school. So we're hopeful that the math is usually not long, and hopefully not too hard either. So that is the state testing update.
Carrie, I have a quick question.
Sure.
Mr. Daggett had me thinking about the new, how everything's just gonna be automatically filled in. So should we go back to using paper and pencil and not using technology for that? Especially, and I don't think our kids test any time else on computers, right? Just these state tests and our scores are low, so maybe we need to start rating in the computers using paper and pencil.
As an advocate for elementary, the ELA this year, although we do a lot of typing, and I know the school district does too, it's a lot. It took some babies all day. And when I say all day, starting at 9:30, getting a little break for lunch and ending to 3. And it was because they don't have the typing skills yet because they're little. Their occupational skills are not, some kids are savvy, but the majority of kids are not. So they would, yeah, just.
And our scores are low. And I don't know how much testing we do on computers except for the state tests.
What we set a while back, and we switched over to the computer page a while back with the understanding that it was all going to be moving to computer at some point, but that's been consistently pushed back. So that is something that we can discuss. I think the concern is that a lot of the stuff that the kids do is on computer, and it's about getting kids as comfortable as possible on computer. But that is something that we can go back and discuss. You are not the only person to have brought that up.
Well, Mr. Daggett just has me thinking, it's just automatically going to fill in for them.
Is there still a lot of I mean, I haven't taken a Regents in a while. Is there still a lot of that they have to write responses and especially is it second days mostly?
With the 3 through 8 testing, it some tweaks a little bit, but usually there's a substantial essay on the second. Or
short answer.
Or long answer is what.
Yeah, I thought they had a lot of short answer and then, because I mean, I know.
And your long answers, you're training the kids, at least we are in our school district, to write paragraphs. You know, you've got a topic sentence and you've got to find supporting details. And so clicking back even between the stories, because the passages are three maybe computer pages and they have to go back. And then, it's a lot of navigation and the directions. I know when we give which is your fast bridge, we do iReady, not great either, but it's not writing and it's not clicking back to passages. It's short passage right in front of you, couple answers, you know what I mean? So it's not exactly what the state test.
Yeah, because I know my daughter will be going into 3rd grade. The other day she came home and wanted me to do a typing test for her. she got like 6 words done in the 15 minutes or whatever it is. And I was like, wow. She tried her hardest. I did it and got like 70, like we're fooling around, that kind of a thing. But I can't imagine the stress that she would have. She can write paragraphs. Her words may not be spelled correctly, but she can write and write. But if she had to type that, she would just give up. I know she would.
To put it into perspective, we have 3 sections of 3rd grade in my school. 32 of them did not finish in an hour and a half.
Yep.
And 20 of them worked until 3 o'clock in the music room. Unfinished, terrible.
That's great.
Yeah, so there's a lot, excuse me, a lot of complaints about the length this year. But yeah, that's definitely something that we will discuss. Links update. So as you know from our presentations, obviously we've set our links goals for the year and we're working towards reaching those goals, but our mid-year benchmarks weren't quite as high as we would like them to be. So one of the things that we talked about with our links committee is what our summer school could look like. Because summer school is really our best chance to keep kids. You might not necessarily be able to move them forward, but you want to at least maintain all the good work that we have done this year. So we discussed with them what their thoughts were on how the best way to accomplish that. One of the things that we talked about was attendance at summer school. Sometimes kids, especially at the middle school level, feel like it's a punishment. And so, their parents getting them up top, get on the bus and come in, makes their attendance a little bit spotty. So we looked at the research and spoke to our teacher leaders and decided to kind of go with a theme, more of an enrichment type summer school program this summer. So it's not about, you failed or you were not on grade level but it's more about here's a great opportunity to do some fun things. So we're going to try and introduce some field trips. We went out to the teachers in general and said, you have a great idea for something for summer school that's more of an enrichment type thing. It doesn't have to be skill and drill. It's going to be something fun and exciting. We got a whole bunch, which is what I'm looking down there. So we have things like the Ozbots and the summer track and field, which goes with our running ladies, possibly doing some American Sign Language, some game design, some creative writing, all kind of infused within the basic undertones of a summer school program that is going to have skill development, obviously, in it. So we're really, the principals and I are getting together next week and we're going to try and map out something that hopefully should be interesting and engaging and have lots of our kids come to it. So, and the other piece to that is, which is beneficial for at least the next 2 years, that one of the things the ARC money has to be used for is some type of summer school programming. So that's a little extra money that we'll get for the next couple of years to kind of help us make it fun, make it exciting, and make it something that kids want to go to. It will be going on from July 5th to August 4th. So anybody with kids, better write that number down. And hopefully we'll get a really good turnout this year. And as always, I know that she's left already, but we do have the free breakfast.
Jerry, on going back to the ELA testing, is there a percentage participation rate to that test?
I'm looking towards the principals.
Or is that a concern of any sort?
It was not bad this year. I don't know off the top of my head. I'll get you that information district wide, but we didn't have too many opt out this year. I know we collected it off the top of my head. And we knew it.
Much more.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out a number and then hit myself for it, but I want to say that we were solidly in the upper 80s. Maybe.
Yeah, 8th grade was the highest opt-out rate, 23 out of 90.
Yeah, 8th grade is always our highest.
Yeah,
Because that's when the kids
Yeah.
know that they can. The younger kids, we try not to.
Everybody else was-
I'll get you that part. We'll compile
Yeah,
it.
we have it, just. You want to wait till math's done?
Sure.
Good math.
Anything else? Business and finance, Mr. Harper.
All right, so similar to last year, at this time of year, we suggested to adding money into the Sleepy Hollow Lake tax surcharge. reserve. Last year, we added $89,000. I'm suggesting this year we add 90. I used the same worksheet that Leslie had used last year to calculate that number and justify it. That was shared with you guys and that reserve amount calculation link there. And I also just added on to her existing tax certiorari timeline letter that she had provided to you guys last year, just adding the correspondence that I had shared with you in the March meeting, and then my asking or requesting really to add that $90,000 into the reserve at this meeting. Any questions on that before I keep going? Solid. All right, athletic training services. We went out to bid, or we went out requesting bids, and only one company got back to us with an actual contract. The other two companies were full or couldn't do it, and in one case, they did not respond to us. I thank Kurt Wilkinson for that. With this, we are getting a trainer on site once a week during next school year, in addition to home varsity football games, in addition to any traditional season tournaments. So if our, say, volleyball team or a wrestling team, wanted to host a tournament, that would be included in the current cost of that. And additionally, this Top Form is the company, will be providing our CPR, AED, first aid training for coaches, where they would come to us twice a year, as they've been doing for a couple of years now. Questions on that?
So the company comes to the football games?
Yes, but I believe it's a section 2 rule, or is it a NISPA rule? It's a section 2 or a NISPA rule where you have to have some sort of paramedic on site for the games. We've had an ambulance there. We're going to bring the Top Form in as well for those football games, because I believe there's some sort of requirement, Bart. Kurt probably definitely knows this a lot better than I do, that somebody does need to be on site for that.
Did Kurt mention any need, like when we get into higher end sectional games on site, like for soccer games, either girls or boys, would they be available for those games as well? Is there a need for that?
If they can be there, we'll have.
Okay.
Right, but like, I think, like Ryan said, you saw a couple of companies didn't even put in a bid, they're struggling, we have personnel that do these services.
Just that I saw a number of soccer games where, you know, they were dropping like flies out there for cramping and things like that. Wasn't enough people to shortage of staff to accommodate.
I can speak from my experience a few years back when JP was still the head coach and we hosted the Section 2 tournament for wrestling. We had a trainer on staff. I believe that was paid for by the section using the admissions money. I don't believe that was an add cost to the district. So that was 5 years ago. So health and welfare services, I've got 2 more for you. I don't think I need to elaborate on those too much more. They're very common this time of year. Any questions on those? Dazny financing contract. This is for the $5 million bond that I had proposed to you guys alongside the budget there. Of that $5 million bond, $2.7 million of it is going to pay for the EPC, the energy performance contract. The remaining $2.3 million is going to pay for the 2019 project. The thought of funding the EPC entirely behind that, and I had this conversation with Leslie, so thanks to her for continuing to help me, is because the EPC in turn is supposed to essentially pay for itself. If we can pay for that entirely out of that bond money, we know we're paying ourselves back with that. Okay. And then I have a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with the underwriters to go through our due diligence questionnaire that I completed and submitted to them over a week ago. And they're just going to fire some hopefully yes and no questions at me, but it's definitely going to turn into more than that. We got this. All right. Another school district agreement with the Devereaux Foundation. And then moving on, similar to the health and welfare services, just a contract really, in preparation for next year. Property tax report card is ready to go on the state website. We met the deadline for having that up there. And then number 7 is the final service request for Questar. This is something that has to be approved every year. A copy of it is linked right there for you guys. And the amount is in the board minutes under the business matters section. That includes just the services we get through Questar. A couple of other things, I could really quickly add them. The fuel bid, it's been kind of a burning thing for me lately. When are we going to go out for this? The fuel bid is out. It will be closed May 10th. We have until May 12th to go out with our award for that. The popular budget was also given to you guys tonight. It's got that fancy blue sheet on it. I did bring copies for the public as well. They're on this table over here next to Elizabeth, if anybody wants one. And then finally, I wanted to give a big shout out to Kyle Crawford, Mike Petramali, and Leslie. Finally got the light cover fixture installed here at EJ, so we don't have that illuminated cone anymore. And I was told it got put in.
I love that cone.
Okay, apparently some people like the cone, but I'm really excited about that light cover being put in because I know a lot of people are really passionate about getting that done. I thought it was really cool. Kyle Crawford and I went onto some website, got some custom cut metal. It came here. He basically fabricated the thing with the custom cut metal right in the shop there. I thought it was really neat. And then I don't know if he or Mike painted it, and then I know Mike installed it. So hats off to those guys. Yeah. So, and that's it with my stuff.
Thank you. Principals and directors updates. Folks over to our left. Who wants to go
I'll
first?
go first. All right, so, I wanted to let you know that we decided on what our annual community service walk will be at Coxsackie Elementary, and this year it's going to take place on May 20th. And the event will be a 10K taking place throughout the whole month of May, with the students finishing up their final mile on the 20th at the high school track. And this year we are supporting Child Mind Institute, which is an independent national nonprofit dedicated to transforming the lives of children and families struggling with mental health and learning disorders. It's a group that they provide resources to families to help children that are in the most need. And their motto is to help children reach their full potential in school and in life. So our building cabinet met and they felt like after going through a bunch of different organizations, we decided that this was the most important during this time, just coming hopefully, off of the pandemic, that this would be the organization that we'd like to support, because we change it up every year and not support the same one. So we're excited about it, and we will kick it off on Monday.
Feel free to come up too, because if we're zooming, no one can see you. If you're not at the podium, if you'd rather just be a voice to somebody.
Thrilled that our light is fixed, although at Halloween, we do make it into a jack-o'-lantern.
Is that how it broke?
We did try making it into a Christmas tree, but the orange still just ate the green didn't work. It wasn't pretty. So our kindergarten teachers do a lot of work with teaching about the community. And they've been talking about how the community can help them and how they can help members of their community. So they wanted to do some work with the DR Edwards Library because they have a connection with them throughout the course of the school year. So this past month, they set up shop here in the cafeteria for a Meet the Authors Day, which featured them. And it really wasn't a day, it was probably about 30 minutes. But they had a little plaque with their name and their picture and all about themselves. And then they had their writing sample from this past trimester, which was a how-to book. And they invited family and friends in. They sold, and they raised over $500, which they then donated back to the Library. It was just a really great project.
The high school is proud to announce that next year we're going to be offering 29 college level courses. We're 14 new electives to offer, 4 of which are college bearing. And we will have a total of 7 AP classes. 3 of those are included in those college level, 4 are not. So 4 are just strictly AP classes, not college bearing as well, because you're able to do both with its AP sometimes. And then also I want to kind of remind everyone about the Harris project coming in on Thursday. The schedule is out, so Stephanie will be doing a 8th through 12th grade presentation from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock in the auditorium. From 11 till 1, she'll be stationed in the cafeteria to answer any questions that a student might have, hand out brochures. And then from 2:30 until 3:10, our office hours, that period, she could be doing some breakout sessions for our students that want to hear more information. And then on top of that, from 6:30 till 7:30 is our community outreach piece to it. So the community is all welcome. It's all going to take place right in high school.
Has there been a robocall or something about that?
Yes, tonight there should have been one.
Oh, great, okay.
And
Yep.
is it on social media?
Will be tomorrow.
Okay,
I posted
I
it tonight.
completely forgot this week and I wanted to attend. So thank you for reminding us.
I'll piggyback up the group that with the Harris project. In addition to that, we would meet with Stephanie as well, because I know she offers kind of like a plan moving forward with the students and how I can help support that if she's needed deficit like in our school district to meet with me and have students take leadership roles with that. I spoke to Jen out here when they last week you guys met and the presentation, but had me interested in seeing what like our needs are that we can help. This month for the middle school and in general with responsible decision making, so we had our cyber safety presenter here from that like prior, and we projected to our students. We had a little bit about this that happens to be on the same night we're having a board meeting. So we presented to a couple of parents. We also gave a lot of good resources to make sure that with parents, teachers, and the middle school mainly, especially fifth graders, they did an extended classes with the resources that we provided. I got feedback from high schoolers that it was more tailored to the middle school, maybe ninth grade. So of having the feedback for next year, something that we're still we work on our cyber safety with all students. So how do we make it more accessible to our high schoolers over the classroom and maybe give them more leadership role and present an idea that they have. Twin Counties is working and coming in to do an updated presentation now. So we're working that's more responsible to make it a little bit great and expand out to May with that. So we'll be coming in and doing major statement middle and school presentation as well.
Good evening for technology updates. We have been receiving the orders from the EFC funding. We are getting iPads in the near future with keyboards attached, so something to note on that. We are targeting certain grade levels to receive those iPads when they arrive. It may not be until the end of the school year, however, but the students will have it in their hands in the fall. As well as we are going to be purchasing Typing Without Tears, which will assist our students in practicing their typing skills again. So during COVID, they didn't have much access to Chromebooks, but now between the iPads and the Chromebooks increase in our environment, they'll have lots of opportunities to practice those. We continue to seek qualified persons to join our tech services team to replace Frank. The instructional technology plan, which was due to New York State by June, has already been submitted. We're really pleased that we're ahead of schedule and it has cleared the narrow review process. And 3 of us recently attended a cosign conference. We were really excited to attend and we learned a lot about cybersecurity, data breach from really large school districts. And we also learned, I think we can all say that we have a lot of things in our school district, a lot more than big school districts have. And it's really awesome to, when we start comparing devices and opportunities, our kids have just a ton of opportunities. Just chatting with colleagues from across the country. So that's really That's okay. We didn't have a drink. That's really off. I'm sorry.
But, so we just, the special ed department, we just finished annual review meetings for the high school break, of course, grade 3. Our attendance is up at our high school meetings. We had about 95% participation between students attending and parents, which has been an increase of about 10%. I attribute a lot of this to our case managers and our counselors. During the pandemic, we did a lot of outreach to families, and some home visits, really building our relationships. And I think that's what has increased our attendance at our meetings. I think it's wonderful because the kids are really advocating for themselves and what they want in their special ed programming, what they see in their future, what classes they want to take. So it's been wonderful, and the needs were great. And then we are moving on. Next up is our CPSD, our transition. Our students working on our kindergartners that will be transitioning from pre-K. It's nice. We are working, we have advanced therapy here. We also have our universal pre-K. We have some of our itinerary services. Some of our students are there, so we're able to, go down and observe and get some feedback from our class teachers and our partners, obviously, with the county partner. So that's been great. And then May 15th, we're planning a PD. We partnered with St. Rose, and we're having them come in and do some training on lesson reading, which is just another intervention program that we can put in our toolbox for students that are struggling with reading and dyslexia. And it kind of is a continuation of the Born Healing training that we did, and some of our RTI teachers will be, our remedial reading teachers will be continuing that as well. So, all that.
Everybody get a chance?
Yes.
Everybody get a chance? Okay, good. All right, thank you, everyone. Acknowledgement of receipt of correspondence from Mr. Fielding, and we all received it. Mr. Dwyer responded. This is a public comment section. And we have a few people who would like to talk. Just want to go over a couple of things, a couple of rules, which I think are on the other side of that board. That I would be asking people wishing to speak to come to the podium so that you can be on camera for the community. Comments should be limited to 3, maybe 4 minutes. So we're encouraging people to submit any comments in writing if they'd like. There's no comments about employees, students, or community members that are personal or negative or even positive. And the board does not generally respond immediately to issues raised, but may ask, any of us may ask clarifying questions. And after any questions have been asked, the speaker is thanked and can leave the podium. So encouraging, again, comments in writing. Board can ask the administration to research any concerns presented, but generally there's no discussion between the speaker and the board. The board doesn't deliberate or take any action regarding requests presented at this meeting. The public vote is required to be presented at a subsequent meeting. So, Jessica Vermillion is here.
As you all very well know, by now, my name is Jessica Vermillion. I'm here today looking for follow-ups and accountability. I had filed a grievance with you, the board, regarding the sexually explicit violent sex act email sent district-wide by the superintendent, and have watched them continue to conduct business as usual. As a current board of director for my fire department, I would have been suspended for an investigation and terminated from my fire department, whether I claim the incident a mistake or not, because the sexual harassment we take, which is provided by a human being, says whatever is offensive to one person is our line in the sand. Yet he had me written up for one day of posting to social media during work hours
All the while, he can send emails that disrupt staff's workday with his ill intent and get off scot-free. This is not even his first offense, sending offensive content. I hope you all did not forget this. S'mores he sent out about the white privileged kids playing sports, or when he pulled a self-contained child from a fire drill promising them ice cream. Another incident we received zero repercussions for, yet other people have lost their jobs over trivial matters. Another issue I want to follow up with is the bullying happening in the middle school. My daughter and her friend came to you in the beginning of the year, addressed the board and administration. The bullying is still going on strong. The solution, flyers with QR codes. This is laughable, as the middle school principal already said she's enforcing cell phone policies and elementary children are not allowed to walk the halls with their tablets. My daughter has recently been ridiculed by her one teacher. After I reported to the office, the teacher was not allowing the children in her over an hour-long block to use the bathroom. She then went to my daughter and told her, "You can use the bathroom because mommy said so." The cell phone policy enforcement was decided to go in effect after my daughter contacted me after the bathroom issue. Coincidence? Doubtful. This was not the only documented account of staff ridiculing students. The mass protesting students were called stupid and troublemakers, not only by certain staff, but the middle school principal as well. It is no wonder children are scared of the bullies because those who are supposed to protect them are questionable. The bullies are not held accountable and the children worry about retaliation and have no faith to step forward. The bullying comes from the top down and treatment by admin, particularly Randall Squire, crap flows downhill. The staff is bullied. Some staff obviously bully students, students bullying. We are more worried about trivial things in this district. Meanwhile, things like our children's mental health and bullying is a real major issue, and nothing is being done. We focus too much on the shiny things like keyboards for your iPads, while our little humans are at the bottom of the barrel. This is backwards. The fact the board and admin has allowed this is an issue. Flyers and taking cell phones is not a solution to bullying. I'm not sure exactly what the board is doing, but it definitely looks like it's not working for public, staff, and especially not the students. But Mike Donahue, you already admitted that at a previous board meeting where you stated that you were the superintendent's board in which you caught yourself, and then you said you work for us. The school board 100% does work for us, and the school board has more power over the superintendent and the district than you allude to. The focus is more on things like reconfiguration and holding those in these walls accountable for their actions. I want you, the board, the admin, the taxpayers, the parents to seriously ask yourselves, why would I consider stepping away from my position I had spent 7 years in, an income my family depends on, to run for the board? I'll tell you why, because my students deserve someone who will fight and advocate for them, as well as my coworkers. The taxpayers and parents deserve someone who will fight for transparency and question things. I told you since day one, I would hold you all accountable, and the day has come.
Ressa Elshani.
You all know who I am. I don't have a lot to say tonight. I just wanted to start out with reconfiguration. I know that we have an upcoming meeting on the 2nd. The only thing I do want to make a mention about was, because I am on the task force, and it seems that the task force for the reconfiguration was geared more toward accepting and agreeing with it. It felt like the same old trying to use the sales pitch tactic on how we can work together to reconfigure it, not necessarily to stop it from happening. So that's hopefully on Tuesday when we get more information, that won't feel like the case. Secondly, I wanted to talk about our superintendent. We have given this board a petition to remove the superintendent for numerous reasons, including the inappropriate email, retaliation against staff, etc. We continue to witness the silent approval by this board by their inaction. I hear some say that they are worried about the parents running for the board. Good, they should be. We all want what's best for our children and have their best interest in mind. I have watched other school board meetings where they actually engage in conversation with the public. We don't have that. We're not being listened to, and there's no transparency or dialogue. And the policies that are being implemented or trying to be implemented are the reasons why you have angry parents continuing coming to the meetings. On May 17th, we have the opportunity to take back the reins, and I look forward to that. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, would you like to speak? John? John, would you like to come up?
I was just wondering why, what exactly the purpose of the land acknowledgement is when virtually every region of inhabited land on this planet belonged to someone to whom it no longer belongs. Like, the land on which our school district sits is not unique in that regard. So I just think that the land acknowledgement is a bit silly. That's all.
Thank you. Amy Decker.
Hi, my name is Amy Decker, former CA employee, worked here 29 years. And I'm here tonight as just someone who cares greatly about our children and have children that I love here and cherish they're like grandchildren to me. So I'm here because I've been listening for months and came before school year even started because there are things that are on the horizon that a lot of it has to do with the social emotional learning. It has to do with decisions that you have to make every day. I want to say that I have appreciated everybody here for different reasons, and everybody, I know it takes a lot of courage, and you've taken a lot of beatings this year, and I know that yeah, maybe some mistakes have been made, and maybe definitely there's always things that we can do better. But I want to thank you, a lot of you, for speaking up, and I'm not here to point fingers. I'm here to encourage you. You each have such a great responsibility, and you've taken it on willingly. You've put in hours of time outside of school, lots of care and consideration. You've heard people speak, and for all the months now, I feel like you've been hearing a lot. You've been getting a lot of information from a lot of people in the community, and I want to encourage you that you have the authority to make a humongous difference. You have the authority to change things, and it might take some courage here to stand up. And I'm going to encourage you to find out, continue what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing. Continue to research. I saw on the agenda tonight that there's a decision about the Devereaux Foundation. Just reading a little bit, I know a lot of it is social emotional, and on the surface, it sounds good, but we haven't heard a lot tonight about education in the sense of reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's been a lot of focus on social emotional, and I don't think fad is the exact word, but it's this run, it's the whole thing, it's this big push. But do we as a community have to follow what the UN agenda is? I know our school website is linked to that for 20. What are our goals here? Find out more, and maybe, I don't know how many of you've read it, but really research. I know you've had a lot of great people speaking who are very knowledgeable and care deeply, and I just want to say thank you, and thank you, and thank you. Please remember the authority that you have, and maybe you've been thinking about things. Maybe there's things stirring in there that you've been thinking about strongly. Should I say something? Should I not? Do I understand something that maybe others don't? Should I share it? I want to encourage you to share it, because now is the time. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Okay. Attendance recommendations. Let's start vote. Motion of consent to recommendation of superintendent to approve the Quest Star 3 policies 22-23 tentative administrative budget in the amount of $6,976,593.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Then we have election of members of the Vestal Columbia Green Counties Board of Cooperative Educational Services. There's 4 nominees. It looks like we have to count us for or against. So we need to ask, maybe show of hands of those who cast their vote for the election of Mr. Edmund Brooks from Columbia County District, Ichabod Crane as a member of the Board of Cooperative Extension Educational Services, Mr. Columbia Green Counties. All those 4 against. Be resolved, Board of Education casts vote for the election of Mr. David Finch from Greenville, New York District, and residents of Greenville Central School as a member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Master Columbia Green Counties. All those 4 against. Be resolved that the Board of Education casts its vote for the election of Ms. Nadine Gazzola from Columbia County, New York District of Residence, Taconic Hill Central Schools as a member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Central Columbia Green Counties. All those 4 against. Be resolved, Board of Education casts its vote for the election of Ms. Melanie Scott from Chatham, New York District, Resident Chatham Central School District, as a member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Central Columbia Green Counties. All those 4 against. So all 4 were 9-0-4. Thank you. Now for the motion of consent for the Board of Education on recommendation superintendent approve the final services from Quest R3 RCG BOCES totaling $1,940,758.27.
So
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Personnel matters. Need a separate vote for them. Yeah, so separate vote for the collective bargaining agreement with the food service department. Be resolved, the Board of Education by recommendation of superintendent approve the memorandum of agreement for a successor collective bargaining agreement with the food service workers unit for 22-23 to 24-25. So need a motion to consent.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Motion to consent to approve C2, 3, and 3A, election inspectors, and to add there's Judy Zoller to the election inspectors list. Any motion for that? So any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Business matters. You have separated that? Separate. Okay, so the motion consent for D business matters. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. As for the budget property tax report card. Be resolved, the Board of Education, our recommendation, superintendent have the opportunity to use the proposed property tax report card for 22-23 school year required by education law 17-16 approved to be attached. Need a motion approved?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so carried. Any other public input? Down the table. Karen?
I'm good for
Good.
I was just thrown off. I'm good. I'm gonna pass.
Okay.
I'll say one note to one of our teachers in the BOCES program, Mike Peter, who's also a local resident, was honored by, it was local Channel 13 News, is one of the teacher appreciations recently. So one of his students wrote in and talked about how he's kind of changed her life and the good things he's doing with the school. So it was a nice write up on there. I think it was Channel 13. Congrats to Mr. Peter.
I was just impressed with our presenters tonight. The running club, and Mary. And I guess we can't, yeah, Ted, thank you. I guess we just, well, I was gonna thank the bus drivers because we're always thanking the teachers for always putting it together for our students, but without our bus drivers and everybody collectively, our surrounding districts that helps, we just have to say thank you. Our kids are our life here. So thank you to all the bus drivers and Ted.
Again, just the running club that came, again, little kids that are coming to us and trying to give a presentation. And kudos to them for continuing to get up before school and going and doing that, to Desiree and Skokie for putting that together year after year. And encourage anybody to come and join us on the 14th for the GA5.
I would just like to piggyback on what we've said. Everybody here has, the teachers, the students, we're in for the long haul, the bus driver, everybody. We've got 9 weeks left. I'm really hoping to finish strong. It's been a long couple of years. I know people are tired. It's been a really long year. I know we're tired. We just want to keep what's important in mind, and that is to help our kids be happy so that they're successful and achieving, and in doing that, to help the people that work for us be happy so that they're successful in getting through to the end of the year. And just thank you for all your efforts, because it's appreciated.
Yeah, I just saying the same thing. Thanks to everybody for seeing the 2 little presenters that come. It was very nice. And again, thanks to the bus driver. And thank those folks that were there that when other schools may have closed, the kids made it to and from safely. And looking forward to the May 14th event and the event that you, Bill, and others have been working on with the Harris project. Those are good things to see. Thank you. Okay, future meetings. We have May 3rd, budget hearing at CE at 6 p.m. May 5th, budget hearing at here, EJA at 6 p.m. May 17th, the annual budget vote and Board of Education elections at CE and EJA, 1 to 9 p.m. May 19th will be another regular board meeting at CE at 6:30. June 16th will be a regular board meeting at CE at 6:30. And we already have the reorganizational meeting here, July 7th. That's CE at 6:30. Now we'll need a motion to go into executive session to review CSE minutes, negotiations with bargaining units, contract updates, employment histories, etc.
Make a motion motion to go into executive session to discuss those.
Second. Have a discussion? Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Good night.